Hi everyone, Judy Wood here. Let me walk you through the setup for our first exercise. What I'm going to do here, I'm in Illustrator. Let's start with creating a new document. So I'm going to start with File, New, or if you're starting from your home page, you're actually going to get the option to create a new. Let's just get rid of the next options as it goes through the new features. And we'll have a look at new file. I'm going to set my intent for print, and as soon as I do that, it sets the color mode for CMYK. It gives me a resolution for 300. Here is my letter format. Note that currently I am looking at points as my unit measure. If I go to inches, it gives me my unit measure in 8.5 by 11 in imperial numbers. Let's go ahead and give us the naming convention of DESN100. This is exercise 1 and your first name, last name. There's your naming convention that you're going to work with. Now, I'm going to talk to bleeds for a quick second here. Remember, we talked about making sure that your file had this bleed that extends beyond the trim line of your artboard. So if you have a background, for instance, you might extend it. This particular project doesn't require it, but this is just a super good practice to get into. All right, I'm going to make sure I'm a horizontal here. Here's your setup. So it's a horizontal 8.5 by 11 with a bleed. And the intent is set for print, and you can see which gives me the CMYK at 300 pixels per inch. I'll say create. Here is my artboard. You see this red line? That is my bleed line. Here, this black line is my trim. So anything that might come to the edge will extend beyond. We'll talk more about that in another at another time. Currently, what we want to look at, I'm just going to go ahead and change my workspace here. There we go. And have a look at my layer. My first layer, I'm going to give this I'm going to call this guides. I'm going to create a new layer by clicking on the plus symbol. Here's my layers panel, and we talked about the panels, but you can see this little plus symbol. This is what gives me new layers. If you hold your Option or Alt while you click on it, the dialog box comes straight up. If you just click on it, it puts it here, and then you double click, and then you can change the content. So I'm going to go ahead and give this original. And then I'm going to do another Option and Alt, and I'm going to call that type. So for my guides, when I start to pull this out, let's start with our original layer. I'm going to go to my type, and I'm just going to drop that over here. And I'm going to go to my type. If I hit my T, that is my keyboard shortcut to get to type. Notice I dragged out an area. That is my area type. I'm going to Command Z, and this time I'm just going to click once, and that's just going to give me point type. I'm going to type my name. Command A to select all, and now I'm going to go ahead and change. I'm going to pop into my properties here and change the font under character to Garamond Pro, and I'm going to pop this up to about 110 point, and I'm going to change my leading also to 90 point. And instead of regular, I'm going to click, and I'm going to make it a bold. Now, ideally, I would like to see this tracked a little bit better, but because we're working with this document and we want to really isolate the anatomy of characters, I'm going to leave this the way it is. Here we go. Let's have a look at placement on the artboard now. In my Properties panel, I'm going to scroll down, and you'll see something called Align. The first cell, if you click on it, it says I'm going to align to the artboard, which is what I want to do. This is a single artboard. I'm going to align to artboard. That's the default, so you probably don't need to change it. I'm going to center align horizontally, and I'm going to center align vertically. If you hover over any of these tools, it will tell you what it is. So I've now centered it on the page. This is great. Next thing I want to do is go into my layers, and I'm going to pop into my guide layers. Now my guide layers, and I'm going to go ahead and just drop that above and close that down. There we go. Just to give myself a little bit more space in my working area. Now what I want to do is pull up my ruler. So under View, and go down to rulers, show rulers, Command R. So notice all of these keyboard shortcuts, all these little characters at the end of your menu items is the keyboard shortcut. So Command R will bring up the ruler, and it will also turn it off. I want to pull up, because my text is now centered, I want to give myself a baseline, and I want to give myself an X height, and I want to demonstrate the cap height. So I'm going to pull down, and if I simply just click in the ruler black area and drag down and release, that will give me my first guide. I'm going to do the same thing for my X height and drop that on my X height. And the last one is going to be on my cap height. So now I have 3 guides. And if I again look at my layers, you can see that I'm on the guide layer. If I on and off with that eyeball, that'll turn that off. I have my type on the original, on and off here. So I'm going to lock my guides. And instead of type, I'm going to put lines here. Because I know we've talked about doing a little bit more advanced stuff here, but I'm going to keep this simple for you. So we're going to make a line layer, and I'm going to use my line tool, and I'm just going to simply drag out a couple lines. First line, and I'm going to go back to my properties. Right now in my properties, here's the appearance of that line. You can see that it's still selected here, right? If I zoom in, you can see that it's selected. Hard to see because of the guides. So let me just turn the guides off quickly here for a second while we're doing this. So you can see that this green line is what we're working with. I'm going to put a stroke on it. I'm going to put a stroke on it of 0.5, and that'll automatically give it a black stroke. If I click right on the word stroke, notice that these are underlined, and I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to click on the dash line, and it gives me a dash line that I can work with. Now, if you want to go ahead and see that frequency increased on your line, you can just change the numbering on your line to make it a little bit more frequent. Okay, I'm going to turn back on my guides. Let's back into my layers, turn back on my guides. And so a couple things. I could simply drag out and do the same thing I just did with that line, and that might be good practice for you. Zoom out here and just simply drag a line across and go in and have a look at that the properties of that line. And if I click on it, it is dash. So it is picking up all of the same attributes as the last thing I just did. And I'll zoom out again. And for this last one, I'm going to show you another option that you can do instead of dragging out a line. I'm going to go to my black selection arrow. I'm going to click on the line. I'm going to hold my Option or Alt. And this time, see the double arrow that shows up on my cursor? That is duplicating. And if I hold the Shift at the same time, it's going to constrain it so it doesn't go all over the place. So now I have my layers, has the type, the lines. Let's turn off the guides. And you can see now where my lines are. Let's put the lines. I'm going to grab that layer in the gray area, not right on the top, and I'm just going to slip it below my original. So now the actual lines sit below it. And I might just shift this one up a touch with my up arrow on my keyboard. Perfect. This is all I need to do. I can lock my lines down now. I'm going to go ahead and save this document. Put it on my computer, and we're in the perfect spot. Let's do a save here. Good job. Okay, and that is it. Print this out. Let me actually show you. We just did the save of the AI file, the Illustrator file. Let's save a copy and create a PDF this time. And let's get rid of the word copy, but make sure you leave the .pdf, that's your extension. And this is the file that you will print from, because it's universal, right? PDFs, portable document formats, are compatible with most devices, all devices. So trying to open your AI file on a machine that doesn't have Illustrator loaded will be problematic, but your PDF will work fine. So if you can go ahead, print this, bring this to class next week, that would be absolutely brilliant. And here I have my PDF. Let's have a look at what that looks like. It will open up, for me, it will open up in Acrobat. That's my default Acrobat Pro. Be careful if you're opening it up. It might open it just in preview, which is fine for this, but you'll understand that Acrobat Pro is very powerful and a better solution for opening your PDFs, since it's part of your Adobe Creative Suite anyway. So now this is what you're going to print, and that's it. I hope this was helpful.